Similar to Paul, I feel like I was the worst of sinners. I used to make fun of people like how I am now. He came and put together such a grand rescue plan for me. There was nothing that could have stopped it, not even myself. In that broken place, in that place that is just too far, that nothing of this world is going to comfort you anymore, you've come to the end of yourself, and that's the best place to be. I grew up in an Italian Catholic home. I was raised primarily by my mom. My parents split up when I was 9. I would visit with my dad on the weekends, and I was very close with my dad. I was very rebellious at home with my mom. She did the best she could with me, but I was a wild, untamable girl. I grew up in the 80s with figures like Madonna, Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, these very sensual, seemingly powerful women who were able to have such an impact on so many people, and that was what I wanted. From the time I was 14 until I was about 24, I was just the party girl. I loved the attention, and I would be constantly in relationships. I was obsessed with love. It was my thing. At the age of 24, something happened that really knocked the wind out of me. My dad, who was only 56 at the time, was diagnosed with esophageal cancer and passed away within 6 months. And I was very close with him. It rocked my world entirely. And for the first time in my life, I really felt like an adult. The last time I saw my father, my boyfriend at the time came with me to say goodbye to him. And while I wasn't entirely surprised that he did it, he asked for my hand in marriage from my dad. And my dad granted it on his deathbed. When I gave birth to my son, love burst forth in my heart in a way that I've never understood. And that love absolutely wrecked me. The birth of my son started to break open this woman who was nearly entirely self-focused. The marriage eventually broke down. Adultery, addiction, abuse. I felt betrayed in so many ways. I felt broken in so many ways. And yet here was this child that I had given birth to that had life ahead of him. After the divorce, I did go back to the party lifestyle. Now there was almost a revenge aspect to it. I had a friend at a time who was going through some things of her own and had been there with me really through the entire ending of the marriage. And I was incredibly vulnerable. And so was she. Until it became an affair. This wasn't a quick overnight experiment. It was two people who really intimately, passionately loved one another. That relationship felt like the most natural, most compatible, most exciting relationship I had ever been in up until that time. Over time, that relationship became more and more consuming. And so what starts happening in me is a breaking down, but I don't know that at the time. And so I'm just completely consumed with this relationship, and yet there's something inside of me dying while I'm trying to convince myself that I'm more alive than I ever was. When the relationship started to break up, I honestly felt like I was losing everything. In the divorce, I had declared financial bankruptcy. We had gone through a horrible custody battle. I had lost my home. And yet I was enduring all of that until this relationship started to break down. And that felt like it was going to kill me. I started to think very differently about the future of my life. Because if this relationship wasn't working, I don't think I knew anything about love. One weekend, my cousin was going away for the weekend and offered me to stay in her house for the weekend. And I decided that that would be a great retreat for me to take up. Before I left to go to the house, my friend unexpectedly gave me a Bible to take with me. I argued with her. I didn't want to take it. I thought that was ridiculous as well. I told her I wasn't going to read it or use it, and she insisted. So this pink Bible comes with me in my weekend bag, and I'm there and I'm drinking and partying all by myself, trying to make myself feel good in some sort of way. But the more I was by myself, the more I didn't want to be by myself. And the more horrified I became at how alone I actually felt. So that night, walking around her house, I actually was thinking about different ways to end my life and figured that it might be a good opportunity because nobody else would be there and nobody would find me for a few days. My son was not with me. He was with his dad. So I'm at the house that night and just really uncomfortable with myself and starting to really feel maddened, almost a rage sort of in my heart. And I walk by my weekend bag and there is this pink Bible staring me in the face, and I'm just so angry to see it. As far as I was concerned, it was a book that was written 2,000 years ago. Why would anybody pay attention to this now? It didn't have anything to do with me. But for some reason, I went over it almost as if to prove it wrong. And I pick up the book and I open it randomly to a page and I sit down at the table and start to read. I now know that I was reading Song of Solomon, of all books. And the language in it actually catches my attention for a few minutes. And then I realized, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. And I slam it shut, put it back in my bag. And I really don't know how I'm going to continue to live with myself. Somehow, in the middle of the night, I end up in one of my cousin's empty bedrooms. And in this bedroom, there was a mattress on the floor. And I am asleep on the mattress. And I don't even remember going up to the room, to be honest. But there I was. In the middle of the night, something wakes me up that feels like a knife going through my left eye. And I wake up screaming in pain and grasping for my eye. It hurts so bad, and I'm screaming, and I'm trying to reach around the room for my phone to call for help, which is ironic because I was thinking about ending my life several hours later, but now I'm ready to call for help. So I feel like I'm blind. I'm reaching around in the dark, and I am not finding the phone. I find the lamp, and it's not plugged in, and I'm not trying to figure out how to plug it in the dark. And my hand comes upon something, which moments later I realize is the pink Bible. And now I feel enraged. It felt like it was mocking me. It felt like the Lord was mocking me. It felt like, after everything you've taken from me, you've taken my home, you've taken my financial security, you've taken my marriage, you almost took my son. Now you've taken my eyesight. You've put me in a room without anything. I don't even have light in here, and now I can't see. And yet, you're going to mock me with this Bible. I was enraged. And yet, in an act that I really can't explain or understand, I open the Bible in the dark. I'm holding my eye, and I look down at the Bible, and just a few words came off the page. I don't know what I was reading. But when those few words came off the page and into my spirit, something in me came out with a rage that I have never experienced in my life before or since. And I picked up the Bible and I threw it against the other wall on the opposite side of the room. And I screamed, "You win. You win." The Bible hits the wall, and the spine of the Bible breaks and it falls to the ground. And as it falls to the ground, so do I. That is the moment I believe I was saved. But what's interesting about this is it's not how a lot of people think about getting saved. This was an actual spiritual war that was going on that I had no idea that I was a part of. And in this moment, whatever it was that came out of me, I believe was speaking to Jesus and telling him he had won the battle. I didn't even know what had happened at that point, but now I know that he won my soul that night. I wake up several hours later, it's light out now, and there's a presence in the room with me that I can't understand. And there was a peace about me. My eyes still hurt a lot, but there was the Bible on the other side of the room, and now it was broken, and it looked a little bit more like something I could relate to. So I went and I took it and I wanted to read it. That was different. And I took it in my hands and I sat on the floor holding my eye, and I read the Bible for a long time. And as I read, my eye started to get better. So shortly after that, I left. I left that house, knowing something had changed, but not really fully understanding the depth of it. I wanted to live life with Jesus, but I didn't think that I had given permission to him to change all the things that I loved. And so I start to try to live the same life that I was living beforehand and just add Jesus into it. Well, I started to realize that that wasn't going to work. There was something in my heart that lit up with the knowledge of real love, and it was shifting my entire paradigm because I was convinced that I had already known what that was. But what I was feeling inside my heart was something entirely different than every other relationship I had ever known, even the ones I was completely convinced were the real thing. Something in me finally felt settled. Something in me finally felt like the passion inside of me, the fire inside of me was sincerely understood, was seen, and was loved. I felt belonging for the first time. When I found Jesus, everybody around me started to see something different. And my friend, who knew me very intimately, started to see a change that she couldn't control either. And so I start coming to life. But this new life was going to have to leave a lot of things behind. And eventually that relationship would be one of them. After I get saved, there's this intense 5-year consecration period that happens, and I start to live my life entirely different. And I decide I'm going to start to write my story, and I excitedly tell God I'm going to write my story, and he says, no, instead you're going to go to seminary. And eventually I attend Moody Theological out of Chicago, and I love every second of it. I am now married to a wonderful man of God, and I have 3 kids, not just one. And I spend my days serving the Lord in whatever he calls me to do, and I have joy in that. I became an author in 2017 when I was co-author of a book called Disciple Trip with Dr. Joey Cook. 2 years after that, I released my first book, which was entirely self-produced, and that was called Fire Women. And so I wrote the book that I really needed when I was younger. I now have a business where I help other authors put their testimonies out to the world as well. What you should expect if you have really come to the end of yourself is to find the thing that finally makes sense in your heart and in your life. And until you get there, it's almost impossible for somebody to tell you. You have to experience this for yourself. The Lord says, if you search for me with all your heart, you will find me. So my story isn't about a woman who used to be gay at one point in her life and now is not. My story is of a woman who fell in love with the heart of Jesus, and he changed her heart completely to desire his. I didn't know that I was searching for him, but I did. I found him exactly in that broken, end of the road place. And when he reveals himself, as He always faithfully will, your heart will entirely shift. If I was talking to my younger self, I would tell her, He understands your passion. There's somebody who sees you exactly as you are, made you like that, and loves you just like that.